Hello everyone, Cynthia Miller here, and today we're going to paint the Great Blue Heron. I love the colors of this magnificent bird. We have these flying around in our neighborhood. We have huge trees where they nest, and there's lots of creeks where they go and hang out, so there's always herons flying around. I'm looking at my colors here. I love to put things out where I can see them, so this is all the colors that I have. Some are labeled, some are not. We're going to start off with a number 4 round brush and using Sap and Dusk Green, and I think I put just a tiny little bit of the Phthalo Blue into this to give it a bit of a turquoisey green color. We're setting up the horizon here where the edge of the water will touch the trees on the other side of the inlet. And this is basically Great Blue Heron in flight, and so it looks like he's either taking off or landing. When they are in that perfect position to fly high, their feet are tucked right underneath them. But with this one, the feet and the legs are kind of trailing behind, and so it's got a bit of action moving to it. I'm picking up my 2-inch flat brush here, and I used to use this with my acrylic painting. But basically it has, we've got a lot of paper to cover here, and you can see how easily it goes in between the feathers. I want to cover right up as, close as I can to the bird. We're going to be putting lots of green on here. This is an emerald green with the dusk green, just a little bit more forest color looking. And as you can see, because that water's in there where the feathers are, I'm able to put the pigment in there and just let your color go where that water is, and let that wet paper sort of form the trees. And then using the bigger brush again to wet the paper on the left side. It's best to do it section at a time, and as long as you've got the same color behind, you should be okay. With those upward strokes, you can let it blend. Basically, we're just adding a little bit more water to the area so that the color will sort of flow into where that water's at. So let the water create those trees. Put water on your paper, get those upward strokes with a dark forest green color, and let the water really transform it into that forest for you. Now the horizon is going to be quite a bit darker, and you can fill it in up to as much as you like behind the bird. Now in the center of the picture, there is quite a bit more light at the top, and so leave a spot where it's dark all around and light in one spot, so that it looks like there's a little bit of depth there. Now I'm just going around and sort of defining the areas along the horizon, directly around the wings. I don't want sort of white to show there. So when you bring water, the color will go to where the edge of the feathers are. Now we're going to start with the finer points of the heron, and we're going to be using 0 to 2 inch round brush as well as the rigger brush. And we're going to use a combination of burnt sienna and no name orange. And we're going to get a nice rusty color, and it's going to be put on 3 different places. We're doing the feet, we're doing the thigh area, and we're just creating a sort of a background orangey color in the thigh. But for the beak, we're just doing the very lower part, the lower part of the beak, and it's just going to be 1 or 2 strokes that just give you just a touch of color there. Putting my tissue down so there's no smudges. I'm using my rigger brush again, and just putting in the sort of the triangle shape on top of the head, very light Payne's gray. There's a feather that extends from the back of the head, very just sort of an upward stroke. I'm starting to outline a little bit of the jawline. I want to keep most of the face or the head of the heron white. I've got a little bit of gray on the upper beak, and just Very little brushstrokes on the head, just defining those features, and don't forget the black spot for the eye. Now I've placed a very little bit of water on the neck so that when I apply this gray color, the Payne's gray with lots of water, it's going to flow. I want this to look fairly smooth as it moves into the rest of the body. It's going down to sort of the underbelly, the white head just turns to gray very gradually, so let that be a soft transition there, and then bring in more pigment as you come closer to the underbelly and into the start of the wing, basically. So what I've learned in painting birds is that there are so many different types of feathers throughout their whole body. The wings, the shoulders, the front, the back, the underbelly. And what we're going to do now is just put a little bit of water in where the tail feathers are. Basically, it's just sort of more the down feathers. This is close to the body, keeps the body warm. And so we want it to look really sort of mottled looking. And that's why I'm putting in the water first. And I've added a little bit of the indigo blue to the Payne's gray. So we've got a very light tone of blue coming through there. So we're going to paint a couple of places that we just want that soft gray in there. And this is the right wing. It's the front part, and I'm just putting a little bit of water in there so that the colors will blend. And you can see here that it's the front part of the right wing. It's gray and blue, but we're going to put on that blue, or sorry, the gray first. So this is Payne's gray. It is watered down to make it lighter. You don't have to add white or black or anything to it. It's just this lovely gray color. And if you want to add a little bit of indigo blue just to give it that blue tinge, please, by all means, just give that a go. I am dabbing in some more of the Payne's gray, and as you can see, it is a wet paper. So that front part of the wing, it just sort of blends into where the feathers are. Now I'm just dabbing on a touch of the indigo blue mixed with some Payne's gray so it just blends in there nicely. I'm going along the ridge of that section of the wing. This isn't the full wing, this is just the front part of the right wing. And because my paper is just still a little bit damp, it blends very nicely. Just adding a touch more of the Payne's gray to accent the edge of the wing, the front edge. And I'm just going to show you how you can finish off the edge of the wing. Just bring one side of each of the feathers up and just draw them close together. So we're just going to go in now into sort of a funny part of the wing, but it's where the wing bends. It's like the ball joint of an elbow, really, except it's in the wing. And so this round area here is right at the front of the left wing. And we're going to use the Payne's gray in different sort of mixtures of water, but we're going to add some feathers to the torso. And that wing elbow where it bends is a touch darker, and so is the underneath of the heron. We're bringing down the gray colors into the leg. We're giving it a little bit of a knee joint. We're outlining the claws and the feet. And we're really outlining the legs, the upper part of the legs where they join the body. And that's where we put the orange color earlier, just to make it look like there's something sort of beneath the feathers. It's really flesh is what we're indicating, that there is a body with legs, with flesh. And there's very little flesh on the legs, but with a little bit of that orange in the feet, it makes it look like there is something there. And you know, you just don't be too particular about the design. Just fill that in with that beautiful gray, touch of indigo in there if you want to put it in. We're going to move to the left wing, and we're going to do the same section of the left wing that we just completed in the right one. And it's going to look completely different because this wing is basically straight up and down, really, when you look at it. I mean, it's got that angle to it. And so I'm putting just a touch more blue in this one. As you know, there's blue on the end of the right one. But again, just putting that feather up the front to make it look like there's a ridge line there. And just putting that lovely wash of gray. And we'll just put sideways strokes along there, because those feathers are facing towards the back, towards the edge of these big feathers, these big wings. They're just amazing. So this is another section that we've completed. I'm going to move on to the individual feathers on the end of this wing, and basically I'm starting there very fine lines, and I'm finding that my brush is allowing me to sort of make the shapes of those feathers from a very faint pencil line. So you don't need a whole lot of design on your template to start. You can sort of get the idea of which direction these feathers flow. And of course, they all sort of head towards that ridge line. But there's, again, on the wing, there's 3 or 4 different types of feathers and the direction that they are in. So just take the first section at the top and just sort of try to make that look like it's a very balanced, well, colorful end of the wing, and just sort of giving it a little bit of personality as you go. The darker blue is going to be closer, like sort of the lower half of the feather, and you can see from the template that there are different directions that these feathers go. So we're starting the second section now, and this is the next piece underneath the top tip of the wing. So these feathers are facing pretty much straight back, and putting a little bit more indigo in there. You can see the color is really coming through. And I'm coming out to the tip of the feather and bringing in the water to blend that in. And the bottom third of the wingspan on this left wing is, we're filling that in with some gray. And these are a tiny bit smaller than the ones just above them. And they basically come onto the body and into the tail feathers there. So they are a little bit darker. And so you can sort of play with that, indicate that. And you want your feathers to look light, obviously. So try not to take the color right out to the end of the feather. Try to give it some lightness by using your water, bringing the water in to meet the colors. And I decided to add just a touch more shadowy looking color to the tail feathers. And we come back to the right wing and create the transition from the front section. This is the middle section. We're just using a nice gray color, using the brush strokes that align with how the feathers point. And we're going to come in behind there with some beautiful indigo blue. And what I want to make sure is that the indigo blue that's in my palette still lines up with the indigo blue I've placed on the first wing. And it does. I've got quite a big palette that I mix these colors in, and sometimes just a little bit too much blue or a little bit too much gray will put it off. So you want to make sure you're going in with the same color as possible. I mean, there's going to be different shades of it, light and dark, but it's the hue that you want to match with the other wing. And yeah, if you've got, I mean, this is a very simple color scheme, really, gray and blue, and then a little bit of green in the background. But you always want to pay attention to the colors that you are using so that you learn a little bit more how they work together and what complements what. This looks very misty to me. Obviously the bird is the center of attention. I think that it needs a little bit more depth in the forest, and you'll see that the final product really does have a little bit more added to it than what we did in class. Now I've added just a nice first sort of application of the light feathers, and you can see I'm adding another layer on top of that with darker indigo blue mixed with the gray. It really gives it a lovely textured, layered look. Now we've added a tiny little bit of shading to the underbelly. I think that that's probably where there's going to be a little bit more shadow, and the light might be reflecting off the water a little bit, but it just doesn't really seem like it would be light down there. I'm thinking it's probably more dark, and so I'm just filling that in a little bit. And I'm just adding a few more accents to the feathers. I think it's sort of interesting to see the individual feathers as they are in flight. Just a beautiful composition, really, when you see these majestic birds take flight. But that's pretty much it. We have these classes every Thursday. I guarantee 44 weeks of the year. And we just have so much fun. We love to connect online from the comfort of our home. And we have people join us from all over the world. And so it's really fun to see people every week or every other week and see their progress and, you know, just touch base on different things going on in our lives. So, yeah, I hope that that gives you a good basic knowledge of the beautiful heron. It's wonderful environment, as I mentioned, the tall trees where they can nest, and they're very loud as well. So when there's something going on, they can really squawk. But so please join us if you can, and if you love these videos, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you get the notification of any future videos. And have fun painting the great blue heron.